Those of you that have been following me for quite some time already know that I've been playing this game for quite a while, but over the time that I've played the game, I've obviously had several favorite decks here and there. You know, there's like favorite decks of the format, but then there's also those like favorite decks that really stick with you, you know, throughout the years that you keep thinking back at and thinking, oh, that was like a really fun format to play that deck in. And so I want to go over 3 decks that I really enjoyed throughout the, I guess, 7 years that I've been playing Vanguard. 2010 November, like, I think, yeah, it's been quite a while now, but I'm gonna go over my 3 favorite decks. I'll give some honorable mentions as we go along, but let's just get into it. So this will be today's light-hearted video. So in the number 3 spot, I want to give this spot to Pale Moon, but not in any, just, you know, probably not in the rendition that you're expecting it to be, but actually in BTO 7 with the original Lukier. And I think I need to give some backstory to this as well. So in 2012, we had the regionals, so like, you know, it was like World Finals and like, you know, the whole World format, the same one that we know today. But back then, Europe only had 3 qualifiers, so we had 1 in Germany in Dusseldorf, 1 in France in Paris, and 1 in England in, I don't remember if it was in Manchester or somewhere else. I don't actually remember which location the UK one was in. So I went to the France one with Gold Paladin, and I got like top 16, which is really good for that time, I think, because I was only playing the physical game for a few months at that time. But then, in the UK one, there was a live stream by I think Heartfight Central or something along those lines, and they live streamed, I think, from the top 8 onwards, or maybe even earlier. I think they live streamed the whole tournament, I think. And there was one deck that really caught my eye, and one player that caught my eye, which was Daniel Cottam. I'll just refer to him as Danny from here on out. So Danny's a pretty well-known judge these days. Like, he was, when I was in Germany a few weeks ago, he was judging there. He was judging at the UK in September, so he's a pretty well-known judge and he still plays actively. But Danny at the time was piloting a Pale Moon deck that I'd never seen before, which was based on Lukier and this kind of toolbox that you could go through and make combos to build up Lukier's power and still make really strong columns on the sides. So it kind of had like Dancing Princess, which you could toolbox for anything, and then you had the Turquoise and the Crimson Beast Tamers that could also, you know, have their own combo going, and then you had Purple Trapezes that interacted with Girl Who Crossed the Gap and made this kind of like loop for as long as you had counterblast, you could loop them and build up the power of Lukier. And I really liked that deck because it was the most like, it was the most combo heavy deck at the time, I think, where you could really see combos coming up and go like, okay, I'm going to do this combo and like build up power like crazy this turn, and then if my opponent doesn't have a PG, I'm going to win, you know? That kind of thing. So I really enjoyed that deck. I built it. I remember like after France Regionals, I sold my Gold Paladins because I started to get kind of tired of them, and then I built that deck. And then I was enjoying it so much. I played it for several months until Shadow Paladin came out in BTO4, because we had this weird release schedule where essentially we had BTO1, BTO2, then BTO6, and then BTO3, then BTO7, and then we had BTO4, then BTO5, and then BTO8, BTO9. So that was like this weird schedule that like we had in English at the start. I don't know why they did it to this day, I still don't know, but you know, that's how we played the format in English, and that's what made the big divide between the English and Japanese versions of the game. But what was nice is that because of that release schedule, I basically played Golds for some time with Spectral Duke that you keep seeing that poster in the background of, and then I switched to Pale Moon, and then Shadows came out a few months later, and I like religiously switched to that. But I really enjoyed Pale Moon for that time, and then I kept the deck and kept playing it every now and again. But then Silver Thorns came out, and I built them, and they weren't as fun, I would say. They were getting pretty simple to play. The combos weren't that convoluted until like the really late Silverthorn support at the end of the Limit Break era. So then it was pretty fun. But then in G, Pale Moon just lost me. Like, it just wasn't fun. In Legion, they got no support. It's outside of one Legion that didn't really, you know, it was fun, but it didn't do that much for the clan. And so it just felt like, you know, it was kind of not really for me throughout G, and then now in Standard I'm back into it because it feels like that original Pale Moon deck that I played back in the day, and that's why I find it so fun. In the number 2 spot, we have Angel Feather with Gavrail in GBTO4. So this is the deck that if you've been following me for the last few years, it's kind of the deck that, like, despite not maining Angel Feather, I uploaded a lot of Angel Feather related videos, whether it was combos or deck profiles or just like talking about it. I was really into Angel Feather at that time, and what got me into it is like, you know how I'm like kind of really into the girls in Vanguard that are kind of like the kick you in the head, like, you know, bossy types? I don't know why. My girlfriend's not like that, but I don't know why this keeps happening in Vanguard. But I liked Rin, and then I liked Gavriel's design when we saw it, and then once Gavriel's skill was shown, especially her GB2, I was thinking, how can I interact with this? Like, how can I work with this? And I was just like, well, let's take a look at some older Angel Feather cards. Like, I had this like line group with like some American friends, and we just like talked about it. And I was like, oh damn, the no-seal cards work really well with this. And then I picked them up for like, I picked up grade 1 no-seals for about $1 each, if not less, like about €1 each. And it was like, it was so cheap, and I got them for like really easy, like no problem. And then I think 1 or 2 weeks later, they just like, poof, they just shot up in price. And I was like, thank God that I picked up the deck for a good price, because Gavriel in English wasn't going to come out for another 4 months or so. But I was like, well, I'm just going to pick up the stuff now because I really want to play this deck. So I picked up all the old Legacy stuff. Well, not Legacy, but like the original Angel Feather support. And then once Gavriel came out, I had so much fun with it. It had cool, fun combos. It had a, you know, it had an endless loop, which wasn't exactly the best thing, but it was a win condition at the time. It had cool strides. Like, I enjoyed everything about it at the time. I took it to regionals in 2015, and I did pretty well with it as well. I didn't get top 8, but I think I got like top 16 or something with it, so I was pretty happy with that as well. And just the deck felt really fun to play. I really enjoyed watching VGCS footage and like WGP footage from Japan of how the deck was played, just to learn more and more about it, and it was just really fun to play. Then the no-sale stuff came out, and I didn't enjoy it, but I still played it because it was Angels, and I felt like it was the better clan because DP wasn't getting any good stuff at the time. And then when the rescue stuff, like the rescue support came out, at first I was kind of meh about it, but then I really started to enjoy the combos, and now the Gavriel Ultima deck is really fun. It's really hard to play, and my brain hurts when I play it, but I really enjoy it. And now like in Standard I was kind of losing hope in Angels, but now after playtesting them I'm like, okay, never mind, it's still like the Angel that I love, so it's actually perfectly fine. But GBT04 Gavriel was the time when I really enjoyed Angels. That's when I got into it. I loved the art, I loved the playstyle, I loved everything about it, and you know, it's still a really fun clan to play, and so I'm glad I got into it. Before I go on to the number 1 spot, I want to go over some honorable mentions. First one of which is to BT05 Shadows. This was the deck I religiously played. I still have it in my wardrobe, just sitting there with that 1 SP PBD with that, like, you know, the alternate art. And so I played that deck religiously from BT05 all the way up to Revengers, and then after Revengers I finally switched to DP because I didn't enjoy Revengers, and I had, you know, some stuff going on in my life basically that made me switch to DP. But I played that deck religiously. It was a garbage deck. It just sat on a 13k vanilla for the whole game, and you basically just like, you won by having more advantage than your opponent because you had things like Nemain and you had Maka and stuff like that that just kept generating advantage, and so it was good for that because you kept getting advantage, but then you couldn't really use the skills that lose that advantage because then your opponent's going to PG and you're going to die because the deck just kind of sucked. So I played that deck so much, but honestly, thinking back at it, I really should have played something else because, like, I enjoyed it. It was my personal obsession, really, to an unhealthy point, because I was one of those, like, edgy Shadow Paladin fans. So, yeah, good riddance, but it's still an honorable mention because I was really into it. And I guess I'll give one honorable mention because I've been going through different formats, like we had the Limit Break, and now we have something before Limit Break, and then now something in G. So I'm gonna give a little shout out, I guess, to Standard Dimension Police right now. I enjoy the deck a lot, especially the Miracle Beauty variant. I kinda, like, I saw one topping list, but then I cooked up my own list myself, and I saw the combos, and I was like, damn, this can beat OTT. And then, you know, it was quite fun, but I'm not that attached to the deck yet. I think it's because it's still quite new that I don't have these, like, memories going on, so I'll see maybe after my last regional or something. But, you know, it's that, plus, like, the late G Daikaiser deck, you know, that was, like, with Dimax and everything that I enjoyed as well. So those are just some honorable mentions, but the number 1 spot is gonna be taken by DP, and that's gonna be Sin Kaiser. That deck was my jam. That, like, I love that Kaiser to death, but I also really liked Sinbuster design. Like, I had 4 SPs of him, I was insane for that card, like, I really liked the design of Metalborgs at the time, and I just really enjoyed playing that deck. It was so fun in Legion era, because you had Daikaiser, who you could still, like, you know, he was a 13k attack on his own, with a boost it was still fine, so I kind of pushed some numbers, and then you were basically farming throughout the game until you could break right into Sinbuster, Legion into the Urbuster. You had the Daikaiser skill plus the guard restriction, and then you farmed like a bunch of cards in your hand that you could power up your Vanguard with. So then you attack them for like a 78k with the Daikaiser skill, and then they have to, and they can't perfect guard. That's, you know, the best part. So then they had to like guard from their hand with like everything, and then they pray that, you know, I don't guard break them. And then I had Laurel in the back usually, who would restand my Vanguard if it hits. So it was so fun, and I played that deck so much. I kind of got creative with it at sometimes when G started and I tried to put Gallop in there, but it was terrible and I regret that. But then I took it out and I kept playing the deck normally with Strides, and it was really good because at that time Laurel was restricted in Japan, but it wasn't restricted in English, so I could play Laurel at 3 or 4 and with the Stride. So you go into a Die Earth, you get a +2, and then you attack their rear guard. They're running the G perfect guards that can't guard the rear guard, so then it's just like boof, you know, you pop their rear guard, restand with Laurel, and you just made like 8 cards of advantage in one turn. Well, I guess 5 cards of advantage in one turn because your triple drive is already there to begin with. But boy, that deck was so fun. And then like the worst thing is that I sometimes play the 3DS game still, but in the G one, Laurel is restricted to 1, so I can't play that deck anymore, and it really sucks because you really needed Laurel for that deck to work properly. So it's a bit of a shame, but I really enjoy that deck. Like, that deck was so much fun, and it's definitely my #1 spot, and it just has like these really nice memories of like playing it and like just farming and waiting for the power-ups and everything. And it just like, that was more or less when I started doing YouTube seriously as well. Like, it was around that time, like end of Legion time. So boy, I enjoyed it so much. It was a really great time, and it definitely deserves my #1 spot as well. So that is it for this list of mine. Let me know what your favorite decks are as well as why. I'm genuinely really interested to find out because I know a lot of people have like weird well, not weird attachments, but they're attached to things that you wouldn't expect. Like, I know like people are attached to like the original Gigarex, or like Machinings back when they didn't do anything, or like Ghidorah, or like, you know, Thavas. Well, Thavas would get an honorable mention from me, but I never played the deck, but I always really respected it. Like, it always looked so cool throughout the whole G era. I love the playstyle of Thavas and like the whole combos and everything. I love watching videos of it. Same with Night Rose. So it's like those kind of decks that people are really, really attached to, that I think it's fun to hear why, because people always have different stories. So if you have that kind of deck, do let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely interested to give it a read, so do let me know. But that's gonna be it for this video. Don't forget to check out the second channel and hit that sweet bell button, and also check out the social medias in the description and join the Discord channel if you haven't already. But on that note, that's gonna be it for me today, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.